So basics, introductory to Waterborne. Waterborne's nothing new. It's been around for a long time now. Really up until 10 years ago. I mean, it's kind of on its, well, I should say 13 years ago, at least in California. There was a generation 1, generation 2. There's multiple generations now across the board with whatever manufacturer you may be discussing. So, but perhaps in your part of the country, you're still on solvent, which is great. But Waterborne is, the technology has really come a long way, and we wanted to kind of go over a few key points when it comes to preparing your shop for Waterborne, maybe perhaps a transition, or if you're curious about it and not quite sure, a little anxious about it. Really, you'd be surprised, nothing to be too anxious about. The key for Waterborne is really clean air. So back in 2007, when we first started out here in California, beginning to convert people over to Waterborne, the regulations changed in the state, so we didn't have a choice. What people were nervous about was the booth and the compressor, and they thought, man, I'm gonna have to spend $150,000 to get my shop up and running, and really, we didn't find that to be the case. Now, granted, there were some compressors out there that were giving you some pretty, sketchy air. Sure, some of those needed to be upgraded, but they probably should have been upgraded regardless, let's be honest. As far as the spray booths go, I've discovered that the old crossflow booths, they move a lot of air, which is really the key for Waterborne to perform. You want that airflow, or turbulent air, we should say, is really the best thing, hence the blowers in the booth. You can blow at the panel, but you'd be surprised, really the key is just causing some turbulent air in your booth. That's really what's gonna get that base coat to flash. So those are really the two key points. So I guess I'm just trying to maybe cure some of that animosity or some of that anxiety you may have regarding it. It's really not that bad. Step up your filtration. If you haven't serviced your filter in some time, maybe now is the time to invest in that before you get ready to switch over or something like that. But really, air and air movement. Those are really the keys. We'll see guys that are trying to bake it. They'll be trying to bake, Waterborne. That's inefficient. I think that ultimately dehydrating with air is really the key, and sometimes that'll cause it to skim. That'll cause the Waterborne base to skim across. So it's not like solvent, right? It doesn't evaporate the same. So really, again, it just drives the energy cost up. So air movement is key. But really, those are the two biggest key things when it comes to Waterborne Basecoat. Really nothing to be afraid of. The technology is definitely something to adapt. Today's colors, they're so vivid and vibrant that it's easier to achieve that effect. And really, for the paint manufacturers, they really don't get help from the OEMs as to what they did to achieve a color. Usually, OEMs will provide a sample and be like, here you go, figure it out. They may get a couple clues here and there, but really those new colors that are, really getting customers to come into the dealer and sell vehicles, that's the goal of the OEMs. So they're doing that with these little more exotic pigments and stuff that just seem to work better in the Waterborne world, and then maybe the solvent. And I think over time too, paint manufacturers are gonna, for a while, they'll continue to support the solvent lines, but over time, the investment's going to be the future in water. So if you haven't looked into it, I would say don't be afraid to talk to your paint rep. Go over those things, but really it's nothing to be overly anxious about. Again, like I said, it's actually really simple. Clean air and plenty of air volume. We had guys that maybe instead of investing in a whole new big compressor for the shop, they bought a smaller, maybe screw compressor or something along those lines, just for the paint department. And that seemed to be, really, really nice, work out really well. So again, like I said, trying to drive that point home, clean air and plenty of air. So two really key things when it comes to prepping for Waterborne.